Welcome back to this thing. Let's keep going.
The end of an epic is near.
Not really. I'm just glad. We're going to go back to Wild and Free after this.
I want to get off Gunpei Yoko's wild ride.
It's the end of an epic. Our struggles against this game.
I can only imagine.
The game itself was an epic.
I can only imagine how. I can only imagine like did Gunpei Yoko really have that much creative freedom when it comes to this? Was really nobody at Nintendo even allowed to tell him, "Hey, Yoko-san, this console kinda destroys your vision, destroys your eyesight. Do you really think we should?"
I'll be fine.
Everything I've looked into suggests that there were people who actually did playtest this stuff, so I can only come to the conclusion that the people who playtested it had very resilient eyes or were just terrified to tell Gunpei Yokoi no.
Well,
No. No matter what you tell me, I ain't gonna believe that anybody who was tortured by this would have just told them everything was fine.
Again, in two cases also as well, Jova. Either their pockets were stuffed, or, well, we know kind of for a fact that Nintendo occasionally has employed a bit of brute force in some cases, particularly with the competition. So, who knows?
What could have dictated them to put this on the market, though? I mean, if anyone.
that was because. That was because of Nintendo 64's constant delays. Because the Nintendo 64 back in, not a lot of people remember this, but the Nintendo 64 was supposed to be released way before it actually came out. So after
Ultra 64.
After it got delayed for like the third time, Nintendo knew that they had to put something in the market because the Game Boy wasn't exactly, the Game Boy was already 7 years old by that point. So, because from what I've heard, apparently
it wasn't a thing yet.
From what I've heard, apparently Nintendo was actually second guessing the release of this thing. But again, when the Ultra 64 got delayed once again, okay, we have to put something in the market to hold people over. Release
that deal with Sony.
So what you're telling me is that this is essentially meant to hold the line for the N64.
Basically.
Okay, figure about it like this. You know how when they re-released the NES Mini during the time where it's like the Wii U was on its last legs and people still didn't know what the Switch was, it was still going under the NX.
Yeah,
this is pretty much what it is.
I'd argue this is a bit of a different case. It's like, I mean, the NES Mini, while a very good novelty, I don't think that was something that was meant to try and hold the line so much as it was just something to keep people reinvigorated in the brand. Whereas the Virtual Boy...
It was just the timing of the whole thing.
Whereas the Virtual Boy was something that definitely was meant to hold the line as Nintendo's home console at the time.
I mean, it's not like Nintendo supported this thing all that much. They released two first-party games for free first-party games for this, because most of the library was actually first.
This one,
yeah,
and what else? Pedro Boxer, I guess.
Yeah, because it's not exactly all that much support now, is it?
I don't know if everything else was strictly for a party or was something that was still published by Nintendo, but yeah, these three are the major ones.
I can only imagine what it must have been like. The Nintendo turned to the Wario Land team and they thought, "Hey guys, we need some kind of major platformer on the Virtual Boy. Let's conjure up a Wario Land sequel or something."
Now, to give them credit, apparently it worked out, because from what I've seen, most people regard this game positively, and I can kind of get it. For the time it was given, this was probably one of the keen ones of its day.
It's the best game on the platform.
Very, very, very badly.
Yeah, it's probably the best game on the platform, but the best game on the Virtual Boy is not exactly something worth bragging about.
About
that's like saying.
Would you say that's on par with being the best game on the Ouya?
That's like saying, oh well. No, I was gonna say, German. That's like the best. That's like saying, oh, but yeah, I was the best player on a team that lost 30-0. Hey, LeBron James had that pleasure of saying that every time he was leading the Cavaliers.
All right, boss battle.
I mean, isn't 30 points in basketball not that much?
Dibs, when it's one person scoring that, it kind of is a big deal.
So what's the deal with this one?
Basically,
Well, basically, you switch the layers to chase after the boss so that you can land on him here and
It's
there.
literally, it's kind of like the magic pot from Final Fantasy.
yeah, here's the problem, Jova. This thing immediately runs away from you the moment you get close to it. So as you can probably guess, this boss is incredibly annoying to fight because you're constantly chasing after it.
I'll admit, out of all the bosses, I didn't really have too much trouble with this one. Sure, he runs away from you, but I always found him fine enough to catch. He's not as bad as the swordfish eel guy with his sand trap.
I will argue that as you hit him, he starts getting harder to get. Oh, there you go.
Again, it's a pattern with all these bosses. In order to actually symbolize, getting more difficult with each hit, they simply speed up their hitboxes.
And unlike there you go.
Oh, and there you go, dealt with already.
That's because, Jova, you're seeing the final attempt because I cut out a few failed attempts.
I noticed.
I know. But as someone who has played this game, this boss never really bugged me too
Oh
much.
sure,
Trust me,
I understand.
there-
It's better than the previous boss, but I still find it a bit annoying because it get the fuck over here.
Get over here.
All right, I wish I had Scorpion Spear in this game. All right, there we are. Okay, we're almost done.
Yep.
Man, this is the longest elevator in the history of ever.
It's kind of like in Luigi's Mansion 3.
99 floors.
Yes. Who built this mansion? Jesus.
A ghost.
Grave. What's the name of the owner of the hotel of Luigi's Mansion 3?
Helen Gravely.
Helen Gravely.
Mm-hmm.
How did they go with the Mario game?
Because I'm guessing next level games is starting to get to a point where Nintendo really allows them to just do their thing.
Not just that.
Well,
Remember.
look, Nintendo in general have been allowing a lot more risque stuff, more so than certain
Remember,
competitors.
next level is the same
Sure,
company
sure.
that did Punch Out to 2009, I think, where they were allowed to do pretty much a most variety enough of national stereotype, including having voice actors from the actual countries the boxers are from, including getting away with some lines. For example, the Indian fighter, I forgot what he's called, the Great Tiger, having a line where tells Little Mac to suck on his mother's tits.
The only thing that they got in trouble with Punch Out on the Wii was having a Sailor Moon manga in it.
I will say this.
The book Histon Hondo
He's reading, yeah.
Yeah, if you look at it, it's actually it's a scan from Sailor Moon.
That's cute.
Okay, so this particular this is actually one of the better platforming sequences of the game, to be fair. It actually makes good use of the 3D, kind of like David Perry's games back in the day. The whole, the ball is rotating and you have to make sure that the ball is in the background while you go into the platform. That's actually one of the better platforming sections. I will give it that. There you go. See, that didn't hit me because technically it was in the foreground. So again, it's all about so this is actually one of the few ways that the game does take massive advantage of the supposed virtual reality angle of the. Aside from that, my bigger problem with this level is actually one particular enemy that we'll meet later, but I'll talk about that as we go. For now, let's just keep going. All right.
With the music, it's just a bit better.
Yeah. I really get the feeling,
Something of a climax.
I'm starting to. It does make you wonder, considering the circumstances of the. I have to wonder if this game was rushed because remember they were in the remember at this right after this there was also Wario Land 2. So I have to wonder if this was made I have to really wonder if this was made by some kind of B team while the A team was working on Wario Land 2. It is possible because this game in a lot of ways feels rushed because it's very short. Well, there's a very good reason for it to be short, to be fair, but still, there's just something about the game that doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it was properly unfinished, and not necessarily it's unpolished in the sense that it feels it feels like it ends as soon as it begins. Like there's not that much meat to its bones, not really. Combined with the fact that the game design is not on par with any of the other games in the series, it really makes you wonder if it was either a matter of rushed production or the developers were a bit too green.
Why not both?
Maybe both, yes.
Maybe both.
I mean, again, for as much as I do want to play psychoanalysis with this game, I just don't get the feeling like that it had a troubled development because, again, like, well, for as much problems as we do have with the game, I feel like it's a lot of problems that are more so stuff that have accumulated with age. Like, again, I can see why back in the day people liked this game and apparently why people still do have fond memories of this game. I feel like its main problem is just that the game has aged badly in terms of its game philosophies and whatnot, as opposed to it feeling like it was made off of a troubled stuff. Now that being said, yes, it does have that one caveat of being a Virtual Boy game, and well, the Virtual Boy has already been a well-documented series of intricacies, to put it nice.
Okay, so you're probably guessing. I'm literally working on this, so you're probably guessing, guys. What do I have to do? I have to jump on that ceiling there. I'm not even kidding you, guys. I did that by accident, by the way. By accident, I jumped into the ceiling there, and I found out a hidden pipe. Like, there is
the pipe right there.
That's the thing, Jova. Before I uncover that secret, there's nothing distinguishing the rest of the ceiling from that bit that I have to jump into. So I'm not even kidding. That's Zelda 1 level of bullcrap.
Okay, I can tell you this. I did notice the pipe, but the problem is, once again, the fact that you have to notice this with the traditional red that the Virtual Boy tends to have. So again, trial experimentation is not suited for this console.
Not just that, Taylor. Not just that, Taylor. Okay, let me put it this way. See, look at it. You can see that the ceiling on that particular bit in the middle is different than the rest, yes. But what reason do I have to even guess that there's a pipe hidden in there? Like,
you're supposed to figure it out. That's what makes you a true game.
Yes, but you know what happened? But you know what? Look, Joe brought it up earlier. You know what makes Metroid Dread a much better game than this? The fact that its secrets feel intuitive to find because there's environmental cues that cue you in.
Don't tell that to David Jaffe.
Already went.
Yeah,
we kind of already went there, but yeah.
And yes, and yes, I get that this game was made in the 1990s, but allow me to remind you, in the same time that this game came out, we also had Super Metroid on the Super Nintendo, which was a game that also did the same thing that Metroid Dread does. So no, like, Nintendo knew how this shit was supposed to work even back then.
Where'd the music go?
It's building up tension for the
that's the thing, Deji. I don't know if it's that or maybe I just encountered a glitch. To be honest with you.
Oh, I thought you were like at the last hallway, so I just thought. Oh, I guess you're just
there's the music. Now it's
I wonder if it's actually composed like that, where there's a bit of silence at the beginning and then it starts.
It is possible. Some games do that. It's weird. Okay, whatever. The point is. Okay, I feel like, again, like more environmental cues. Like, if you're gonna have us find secrets, please, for the love of God, don't do the Zelda 1 thing. Do the Super Metroid thing, for the love of God.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with finding secrets, but there has to be a logic and an environmental puzzle solving that I am figuring out. Kind of like Shadow of the Colossus, you know? With the problem with Zelda, with something like Zelda 1, of course.
Actually, that's a good segue. This is the one thing that I'm mostly curious about what Elden Ring is supposed to do, because through the gameplay demonstration they did mention, yes, you do have a map, but at least as far as I know, from what I understood when they told, you do not have your magical GPS that tells you where everything is. You do not have Ubisoft towers that tell you where everything is. You're supposed to rely on what the environment actually looks like. As such, you're put with landmarks and different kind of landmarks, so you're actually more eased out in remembering. And yes, you can put your own, pinpoint in case you want to revisit a location and say, I should probably go there again. But the game, as far as I know, does not help and hold you like, say, Skyrim or The Witcher 3 tend to do. So I'm actually curious to see how well they can implement something like this.
Mm-hmm. All right. So
Find the key now.
yeah, this is like I said, it's all about trying your
There
best.
it is in the foreground.
But what if Crimson Viper has it, Jova?
Well, then we'll just have to fight her for it.
I guess. So yeah, this level revolves a lot around trying to experiment with all the various foreground and background paths and try to find out where exactly you can get, how you can get to the key.
I'll give the game this. Like I mentioned before, I do dig how it did integrate the different layers of the 3D of the Virtual Boy into stuff like foreground and background. So
Yeah,
kudos there.
it's abundantly clear that the developers were told that they wanted this to, that Nintendo wanted this to be a showcase for the Virtual Boy.
I'll give Nintendo this. When they do actually use their console's gimmicks on their A game, they can do pretty good stuff with them.
Sure, definitely. It really. I know we keep repeating this, but it really bears repeating. It's just a shame that this thing, that the entire console really hampers any goodwill from this thing.
Oh yeah, the Virtual Boy was definitely a black eye on Nintendo's golden streak.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, among the third parties that did support it, actually the console, the only one that I did recognize of a major one was Atlus, of all people, with Jack Frost. I don't remember who published actually the Waterworld video game. I don't remember who did the flying one, the one where you control the wireframe spaceship. Let me see, actually.
Again, Waterworld on Virtual Boy. That's.
Sure, why not?
All right. Well, go on.
What?
Welcome to the final boss of Wario Land, Virtual Boy Wario Land. Sorry.
And now, hero, your journey has come to an end.
Okay.
It's time to face the horrors within.
Okay, Jova, you were.
Oh Jesus!
Okay, Jova. Unfortunately.
Yep.
Sorry to.
Jesus Christ!
Sorry to.
I can't even imagine this thing in red.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine that thing in red? Yeah, that's a good point.
Also, what's with the constant bright flickering?
Because
I wonder.
because the developers thought your eyes weren't straining well enough. Apparently.
Okay. The reason for the flickering is so that you can see through him in case you're on the other layer.
And also to show you his weak point, which is his nose.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Yes, like Jova was saying, yeah, we are using the whole foreground. We can cut the jump between the foreground and the background. Here's the problem. You have to be super precise in landing exactly on top of the nose, and it can be very hard to even be able, because there's going to be a lot of times where, because the hitbox is very precise, meaning you have to be to land exactly where the game wants you to, and it can be very hard. At the same time that you're trying to dodge all of his attacks, this boss is an exercise in frustration. It really is, because so many times do I actually try to jump on him, and of course he either disappears like he just did, or he moved away. And again, this just keeps going and going because it can be very hard to. There you go. See, like I try my best to jump, but I jumped over the nose. So it doesn't have. So it's not just the fact that you have to jump on the right precise line of in front of the nose. You have to hope that he's at the right height of his pattern as well.
It's also Nintendo's favorite boss fight, a giant head with two floating arms.
Yes.
Yeah.
They love this kind of shit. But yeah, this boss. So yeah,
the last time that Wario will fight something like this.
And let me remind you, 2 hits and you're dead, meaning you have to start the boss all over again. So as you can probably guess, I'm going to be resorting to save states to basically brute force my way through this. Go on.
Yeah,
Alright.
yeah. I'm not gonna lie, Dej. I prefer Tiramisu.
Alright, I found in the meantime, what the Waterworld video game for the Virtual Boy is actually published by Ocean Software.
It's appropriate, I
there
guess.
There were multiple versions, one for the Super Nintendo, one for the Game Boy, one for the Genesis, one for the Sega Saturn, one for the Atari Jaguar, one for the 3DO, and one for PC.
Oh my god, the 3DO.
Yeah. Let me see.
That may be one of the few consoles to make the Virtual Boy look prosperous by comparison.
The other third parties that I can
Well-
find, for example, there was a Bomberman game called Bomberman Panic Bomber, which seems to be one of those 2D, two-player puzzle fighter. Because it seems mostly just a port, though, because it was released pretty much everywhere. Let me see. Then there's Innsmouth no Yakata, a Lovecraft game, published by IMAX, I Max, I don't know what company was that. Galactic Pinball, Nintendo stuff, okay. Golf 1995,
There you go, see?
also Nintendo.
There you go.
Yes,
See,
so
see,
you go.
there you go. See, he has to be at a reasonable height for Wario to be able to properly land on his nose. So yeah, this boss is incredibly frustrating because you have to constantly be at the right position, and you have to wait for the boss himself to also be at the right height. It's so frustrating.
That's right, I forgot. Nintendo made an American exclusive game based on Nestor, the guy from Nintendo Power. Nestor's Funky Bowling. Then there's Red Alarm, also Nintendo, that's the spaceship game.
Like Jova said, like there was a lot of problems with the way games were designed back in these days, like Jova said. But that's the thing, though. Like this team, outside of this one game, really was very good about that shit. So I have to really. That's why I'm starting to really wonder if this was made by a B team,
Virtual really is cursed.
Again,
Yeah.
like I mentioned, guys, we have to remember that this game actually was considered a pretty good one. So, I mean, back in the day,
Sure.
again, yes, it is about of stuff. Like, to be fair, I think one of the best examples of a game that it was considered great back in the day, nowadays considered borderline bad, Zelda 1. Again,
Yep.
very groundbreaking game. A pain to play without so much as a map these days. Hell, it was arguably a pain back then, but
not even
we
just
just had a higher tolerance for that stuff here and there.
like I said, not even just a map. You need a fucking guide to, like Johnny said, because for example, not to mention one of the big problems with Zelda 1 is that the original English translation was terrible. That's why when I play Zelda 1 now, I play a special ROM hack that offers a much better translation, because there's a puzzle in Zelda 1 where a moblin will tell you, grumble, grumble. Obviously, that means you're supposed to get a piece of meat. So that he'll let you pass, right?
Maybe they meant rumble as in the rumbling of your tummy.
That's it.
No,
Well,
because it starts with a G.
it starts with a G. It's grumble. So last time.
Okay, again, the sounding itself is an onomatopoeia for someone which can be hungry. But again, nothing in that statement suggests specifically that he's hungry.
How about the Dongo doesn't like smoke?
Yeah, Dodongo doesn't like smoke, as in bombs. Fortunately nowadays, thanks to the fans, again, this is one of the things that I've been saying about for a while. Link's Awakening didn't need a remake. Zelda 1, like you'd think they would give Zelda 1 the priority because that game desperately needs a remake.
No, here's what they do. If they remake Zelda 1, it'll stay true to the original, as in all the problems. It's like, oh, you wanted a map or something like that? Well, we want to give you the true experience.
That's the thing, Deji. You can go to romhacking.net and find an awesome hack called Legend of Zelda Redux, where the guy who made it did a great job in providing, in making so that there's a basic but serviceable map screen in it that you can use, a better translation that actually makes sense. The bombable walls actually have cracks in them, like the sequels do. You know, like they did such a great job in updating. So there's plenty of ways you can update Zelda 1 without having to sacrifice the game's original vision.
Of course there is.
It really is a case of just I guess Nintendo just prefers to just release the NES version emulated, I guess. But I really believe that game desperately needs a remake so bad.
You just give it the Link to the Past treatment.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what Zelda Redux did. Jesus. This boss. Yeah, as you can probably guess, this boss took me a while to get through.
This goes on for some time.
No, trust me, this boss is. Now imagine, Tail, imagine dying over and over and over, because remember, Tail, he takes a lot of hits.
Yeah.
Now imagine, remember, 2 hits and you're dead. Meaning, yeah, and keep that in mind, the game is also bleeding right in front of your eyes. So, yeah this boss, I cannot even fathom what it's like to fight this boss in the real hardware. Seriously. Like, No, thank you.
Yeah, so anyway, let me check also. There was a part of the Space Invaders, so in this case, title. Space Wash, which apparently is published by Coconuts Japan Entertainment, whatever the hell that is.
Meanwhile, the vast majority of us Europeans lived in blissful ignorance, completely unaware of the existence of the virtual.
There's Vertical Force, which was done by Hudson Soft. Virtual Bowling, I think it's Nintendo. No, actually, a developer and publisher called Athena. Never heard of that. Virtual Fishing, done by publisher Packing Video. I don't even know what these publishers are. Virtual Lab, publisher by J-Wing. Again, all of these are almost Japanese exclusive. And Virtual League Baseball, published by Kemco. So, again, there was some third-party support, but all of these I recognize only Atlus with Jack Bros and Hudson Soft with some of them. There were some cancelled games, including stuff like, believe it or not, a port of Donkey Kong to Country 2. I can't even imagine that in 3D. So with the fucking red filter over it.
For a moment there, I thought I was done. Sorry, like it's. I swear to you, at this point, I'm basically desperate and jumping like a madman because I am so done with this boss at this point. You know, I am 100% done.
That you also need to be specific in because you're supposed to hit just the nose, not the face.
Yeah. And again, that's why that's the point too. Not only is he going super fast right now, he has to be at the right height. You have to also be dodging his hands while you're carefully studying the right time to jump. It's too much. It's this like it's sensory overload. And again, imagine this with bleeding in front of you. It really this I hate this boss. I hate it. It's not fun. It's just
I think the only major window where you might have a proper chance is the first hand slam that he does, because you can see every time he moves, you don't seem to be able to hit him properly, regardless of how well he perform. So apparently, it seems that the only time he stands still for enough time is when he's done the both hand stuff, like this, like here, for example.
Yeah, but as you can see, Teo, he has to be higher than what he is right now in order for me to hit him.
Yeah, that is
Pedro,
true.
After much investigation, I'm starting to think you don't like this boss.
Gee, what made you think that, Dej?
Yeah, just call it a hunch.
IGN, hire this guy. He will give you professional reviews.
I mean, I would. I'll give more professional reviews than more.
Well, Dej, you quit at level 2. What do you think of the rest of the game so far?
I'm really glad I did not play this because I probably would have. Lost it.
Deji, did you actually try to play this on a virtual brush?
No, on emulator.
No, emulator.
I think we mentioned this in part 1.
The only way to play the Virtual Boy game is virtual games without.
There we go.
It's not too.
The other way to play virtual games without being a hazard to your health is to play an emulator with this gray palette. Go fucking away! Like, I like the design of the boss, but that's all I'll give it.
Yeah, it is fucked up. What's up with Wario? Wario games and fucked up bosses.
Okay.
Wario standard.
Hey, and now Teo, prepare yourself because here's an interesting thing. Remember how the first Wario Land had multiple endings?
Yeah, depending on how many treasures you collect. I guess it's the
Wait
same
till you
here.
see this ending. Because you beat this in under an hour, right?
More or less. Well, there you go.
Oh,
As you
Wario is depressed.
That being said, I managed to get more coins than was said because thanks to save states I was able to give myself maximum coins for every time. There you go, rank A.
What's the question mark rank?
You'll see too. All right, so
Asking you why.
so let's see what ending I got. So
that's why the beavers were your save point.
yeah.
They were also helping you save repairing the plane.
However, too, check this out. Yeah, exactly.
They use the plane for their dig.
They're damn.
Damn, sorry.
And now
Wario
Wario's gonna kill one of them.
Tortures a beaver. Fantastic. Yeah. We'll appreciate some subs if you want to have the conversation drag.
I'm guessing he's telling him that there's another treasure that he can get somewhere. I mean, that's probably what it is.
Wow, he's so excited that he even left the coins.
Let me guess, they steal the coins from themselves.
Yes.
What do you need for fucking beavers?
So basically, I lost all the coins that I got. Meaning, this entire game was a waste. I literally accomplished nothing by beating this game. All that treasure I got, it was stolen from me right at the end.
Now that's just fantastic.
Get to fly on a plane.
I guess.
What about?
Wait, you're not gonna show off that ending?
Don't worry, Dej, that's what the next part is for. Basically, everybody, as you can probably guess, I'm not exactly in the mood to play this game 10 times, so I can get all the endings in.
10 different endings, neat.
There's a bajillion of them. Yeah, as you can probably guess, everybody, I'm not exactly in the mood to beat this game a bajillion times, so I'm going to rely on YouTube footage because I think I've done my time. I think I've earned my right to use some YouTube footage at this point. Well, that happened. Hey, Totaka. Okay, Dwibs, please give your final thoughts.
It's a Wario Land game, but done really poorly. I mean, it's not interesting. The music is either just kind of mediocre or awful. The graphics are the best part of the game, to be honest. I mean, it's amazing how much stuff you could get into that weird red pair of goggles. But other than the graphics, that's really about it. I mean, this game is just not all that interesting, and it's just kind of like the Virtual Boy itself. At best, it's uninteresting. At worst, it actively hurts your eyes. So in a way, it's the perfect representation of the Virtual Boy. And yeah, I wonder why Europe wanted no part of this.
Yep.
Actually, wasn't it just a case of Europe not even getting the thing all right altogether?
Probably by the time.
Well, that's the thing, Joe. If it wasn't doing well in the States, how would it sell well in Europe?
Yeah, Nintendo of Europe. Sorry, go on.
You'd be surprised. For some ungodly reason, some things that don't work over here do work over there. Regardless, though.
And vice versa, yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yes, Pedro?
Well, probably what happened was Nintendo of Europe saw the writing on the wall, Dibs, and decided, nope.
I feel like there was some other reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, we'd rather take our chances of like a 20th delay of the Ultra 64.
Basically.
Which is funny, because the Nintendo 64 didn't come out here in Europe until 1997.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I don't know, they were having problems coding with PAL.
Fun fact, actually, the reason the Virtual Boy never got a straight-on Mario game was because the head of Nintendo, Yamauchi, actually decreed that it not get one because of the ongoing development of the Nintendo 64.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see why. It was the mid-90s, from what I can understand, weren't really the best of times for Mario. Mostly he just got like shit educational games.
Mm-hmm.
And also Hotel Mario. Yeah,
Really bad.
So there you go, the mid-90s. That's the closest Mario's ever going to get to Sonic's Dark Age, the mid-90s.
Okay. Anything else, Dubs?
Unless you're a fan of RPGs.
Nah, that's it. I'm done. Mario's fundamentals looks more interesting than
Dej, what are your thoughts on the gem of the Virtual Boy? Question mark.
Wow. It sucks. No, if overturns about it, it's just not really a fun game. They did their best for what they could, but it's just so many design choices that make you scratch your head. It's like, why is the enemy placement so obnoxious? Why? Why is the final boss such a chore?
Oh, trust me, it's more than just a chore. It's pain.
What happened? I mean, I know what happens because they had to make a game on the Virtual Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, man.
It really is. The sad part is that the game starts off fine enough, but but as it goes up, but the more you go into it, the worse it gets, and it culminates with this incredibly horrible final boss that I never want to play through ever again.
Yeah. So I think the moral of the story is thank God for Wario Land 2.
Oh yeah, Wildland 2. Yeah, now I appreciate Wildland 2 even more now that I know that it kind of saved the franchise of sorts.
Again, the franchise was never really in danger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure. It was released on a console no one owned.
Sure.
Again. Don't get me wrong. This game ain't really good, but let's not go conflating it like it was nearly gonna kill the series.
Sure. I was mostly just hyperbole. Go on, Dej. Continue.
But yeah, I wouldn't be against if they remade this just to fix some of its problems.
I think the question at this point would just be, why remake this when you could just make a new Wario Land game?
I mean, Jobo, we can do both, for game preservation and all that jazz.
True, yeah, but to be fair, if there's one thing about the Virtual Boy, not many people are really asking for those games to be brought back because, okay, while some are remembered fondly, they all are relatively simplistic. It's like looking for the preservation of a Kinect game. It's like, I mean, at some point,
it's just one of those for novelty's sakes.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
because again, I mentioned in part 1 or 2 that a company did try to pitch a remake of it to Nintendo, but they said no.
I'll admit, yeah, I mean, I suppose there could have been some good things to come from that. And video game preservation is precious, no matter how much companies may be trying to demonize emulation these days.
Oh, definitely. I would love a new Wario Land by a good feel. Like since they seem to be done with Yoshi now, Nintendo, could you have them make another Wario Land, please? No.
Yoshi claymation.
Don't get me wrong, that sounds cool. But there's only so many materials you can make Yoshi out of. Go on.
Donkey Kong Yard.
What's next? What's next? Steel Donkey Kong? Donkey Kong made of steel?
Well, that kind of did happen.
True. Go on, Dej.
Yeah, I'm done.
Jova.
Okay, for the time when it released, I can see why it would have been considered one of the best games of the Virtual Boy, and I can see why people have fond memories of it. That being said, this game aged like crap. Like, look, for as much as I can see why people may like it, did like it, or have good feelings about it from past memories, playing it nowadays is like, well, it's boring at best and a terrible slog at worst. And that's assuming you're doing it with emulation to keep your eyes from bleeding just as red as the visuals look. Like, again, to whomever apparently playtested with the Virtual Boy and had eyes made of steel, apparently, that kept from melting, kudos, but dang, so many people had to suffer for it. Now, to be fair, I do like how it does integrate the different depths, the layers and whatnot. Again, in typical Nintendo fashion, when they do work with their gimmicks well, they work with them very well. Graphics look nice. The soundtrack for the sound engine they had to work with on the Virtual Boy, I think is fine enough. Obviously not Tataka's best, but given what he had to work with, I feel he did a good job. Otherwise, I mean, okay, having seen the endings, there are some endings that are better than others, but the one we just saw is just kind of, I don't know, middle. It's kind of like, yay, Wario got off the island.
It feels like a troll ending.
He left the coins for some reason.
I would be okay with this ending if it was the E rank ending. Wouldn't it make more sense for this to be the E rank ending? But no, well, remember, Taylor, you saw it earlier. It was I got an A rank. It showed there.
But not all the treasures.
Well, I get that, Taylor, but can I, for all those coins I collected, can I at the very least get the somewhat decently happy ending? You know?
Yeah, I can sort of get why this one is considered that. I mean, look, on the bright side, Wario gets off the island, he just leaves behind the coins. I don't really find this like a terrible ending by that metric.
I mean, don't worry, there are better endings.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Honestly, I feel like, given the circumstances, this ending, for what happens, is fine enough. And I will give this game credit for still at least keeping to the tradition of giving Wario different endings based off of your performance here and there. So there's that. All in all, let me put it like this. It's a treasure lost in time. When it first came out, I can see why it got praised. Nowadays, though, it's a byproduct of the Virtual Boy days in every sense of the word.
Mm-hmm.
Next.
Theo, what do you think?
It's simply put a mess, in a sense that you can see the potential for a good game, but it's buried under its limitations. The level design would be fine if it didn't drag for too long. Again, I'm putting the console thing for less, don't worry. It didn't drag for too long. The enemy design, it's alright if it wasn't so annoying with the spamming. The boss fights would be intuitive if it didn't add those keyframes of Street Fighter 2, near perfection keyframes that you need to take advantage of, The music would be fine if it wasn't, constructed relatively better and not instead a collection of jumbled mess that sometimes gets pauses, sometimes it ambushes you like that. Definitely not Totaka's best work. Again, it's overall just a mess, and all of this in a fucking, for a console that put people in jeopardy just by looking at it, basically.
The Virtual Boy is just that kind of adventure.
I do believe, just for preservation purposes, these games should be released in some capacity, like having like a small collection, because this proves that they can be perfectly played on something like a Switch, But with two things that I think could work for the better. One, the default black and white, because with the default red, you're bound to have people still be eye sick very quickly, And two, I'm not normally opposed to these kind of things, but something akin to a rewind function for this might mitigate it.
Yep.
I don't think a cheat would be the solution, but at least it would be a slight band-aid, because otherwise you will need to rework the game from the ground up in order to actually make it more fair.
Look at this way, Theo. It's like how I did Battletoads for the channel using the rare replay function that has the the replay collection, which has the rewind feature. Honestly, for a game like Battletoads or even this one, I don't consider it a cheat. I consider it a quality of life improvement, because to be perfectly honest, sometimes unless you completely remake the game, there's just no other way of making the experience more enjoyable. You just have to resort to these things sometimes.
Anyway, but yeah, the major problem is obviously the native console. But again, like I said, this should be re-released in some capacity for the people to know. Obviously, not everyone, because some of the third-party companies that do some third-party stuff like Waterworld are basically defunct at this point, obviously. But still, just for the people to know in some capacity the testament of this console. And I can still argue that Jack Bros is not that bad of a game at the end of the day. A bit tedious, arguably, but, still relatively fine. But yeah, this one is definitely the lowest of the Wario Land game, if you ask me, just because of how much of a mess it is in all its major components. It's still nice to see, and again, we need to see the rest of the endings. But I cannot doubt the fact that it was, too much of a slog. But yeah, that's pretty much it from me, Pedro.
The big problem with this game is the fact that clearly something went wrong in development for this game, because these developers are clearly capable of better. Even before this game came out, they made Wario Land 1. So, like they actually told us in part 1, the director was the same one from the other games. So I really have to wonder if maybe this one was kind of the B project while he was still also working on Wario Land 2 at the same time that he was working this. It really begs the question of how these two games can have such different design philosophies.
Again, like we've gone into discussion over it here, like, it's hard to really call this a bad developed project, because for all intents and purposes, for the time when it came out, it pretty much more or less went as planned, and it wasn't like there was some big outcry about it. Some talk about the devs disagreeing about it. Like, this is clearly what they wanted to do, and for the time when it came out, it succeeded. Like,
definitely.
Actually, he was just one of the directors of this game was the director of the first game.
Oh, okay.
At all the other Wario Land games, he was just a designer.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, again, I do feel like trying to look at this as like some messed up project is, again, not taking into consideration the fact that, in all intents and purposes, it's more just about a game that aged badly, as a game that was, bad from the get-go.
Oh, I understand
that's like
that.
Calling Zelda 1 a game that was bad from the get-go. Like, no, it arguably wasn't. It's just that it's aged terribly with gaming standards having raised, essentially.
Oh, I understand that, Jova. It's just that Wario Land 1 didn't age badly. That's what boggles me in particular. Like, Wario Land 1, if you play it today, it's still a great game. So it really... That's why I'm confused. Like, did something happen?
Not forget, this is a Virtual Boy project. It unfortunately has caveats of being attached to a Virtual game. Like we mentioned, it has to be either more simplistic or it has to be more challenging, quote unquote, because of it being shorter due to, again, it being a Virtual Boy game. So, it's kind of a weird cycle. Because it was a Virtual Boy game, they needed to not make it as long to avoid people straining their eyes much, but because it was so short, they included stuff to pad out the game, which ended up making it take much longer than it probably would have if it was just a normal-sized game.
Ugh. What a mess.
What a mess.
Okay, so, yeah. The graphics look good, the animation is really good, the music is definitely not Totaka's best, like we've said. The bosses are fucking... Okay, they're okay at best and absolutely horrible at worst. I'm looking at you, final boss. That final boss was just terrible, and it makes me never want to play this game ever again, to be honest with you. Which is why I will not be and fuck that if I'm going to play this 10 more times. Fuck that shit. So no. Basically everybody, starting with the next part, fortunately, there's a video of someone who made compiling all the different endings, and guess what? They're even using the purple palette for the video. So
Nice.
get ready for watching the endings in purple.
See ya.
See ya.
See ya.